27 days to go until the American people will decide who controls America's nuclear arsenal. This is the warning. Vice President Kamala Harris had a wonderful July, an even better August, and a magical September. October is not off to a good start. The Tim Walz debate was a debacle strategically. Walz had exactly one job to do, which was to confront J.D. Vance, who is a fascist, a fraud, and a vicious racist demagogue. Instead, Tim Walz made him seem like barbecue dad next door, as opposed to the guy who looked into the camera and said, Haitians are eating cats and dogs. Here is the thing about this race strategically that I've said many, many times. Whomever this election is about is the person who is losing the election. October is not off to a good start. Kamala Harris is 27 days out. And on the night before what is being billed as the most catastrophic storm, not in Florida history, not in American history, but in North American history, she's cracking beers with Stephen Colbert. Is that appropriate? Does that demonstrate good judgment? Step back for a second and imagine you are Kamala Harris's advisor. What is the very first question that you would prepare her for?
Would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Now, I appreciate that many of you right now are very upset, very, very upset that you're hearing criticism of the campaign 27 days out. But here's the deal. Very, very soon, every single voter in every swing state will hear precisely what the vice president said on The View, with images of Afghanistan and images of the border next to it and images of gas prices. Why is the vice president 27 days before an election on a media tour making her the target, as opposed to prosecuting the case against the fascist Donald Trump, who is threatening retribution against the American people, threatening to lock up his political opponents, and threatening to create a police state deploying the military for a mass deportation of 15 million people? Kamala Harris made a strategic decision that she was not going to engage with the American media in the way that John McCain did, that she was going to control the message, that it was going to be a disciplined campaign. And now at the end, when the American people in poll after poll after poll for months have been saying they want and need to know a little bit more about Kamala Harris, the way the campaign has decided to do that is by making her a target, as opposed to delivering a handful of speeches that articulate her philosophy about the country, about the moment in time, and about the people who live in the country. 27 days from now, the polls will close in Hawaii. By that time, it will be 11 p.m. in California and 2 a.m. in the East. The last American will have voted, and we will likely know by that hour the results of the election. Everything is on the line. I am someone who Donald Trump has made clear he intends to prosecute, along with thousands of other Americans who have dared to speak up, assert our First Amendment rights, and oppose him. The vice president ran a perfect campaign in July. She ran a better campaign in August. September was magical. We are a few days into October, and it's not going well. The campaign needs to keep the race focused on what the race is about. The race is about Donald Trump and his insanity, his threats of violence, his dogma of taking, his quest for control over the lives of millions of American women who lose their rights. This movement of Trump's is dangerous and it's deranged. The election is very close. Let me close today by showing you the man who could be the next Attorney General of the United States.
Let me give advice to any young man that's out there. I'm married now, I have children, but I wasn't married that long ago. I was single, I was in the market. If you're a young man, it's very important in election season, who's looking to impress ladies, to be the alpha, to be attractive. The best thing you can do is to wear your Trump support on your sleeve. Show that you are a real man. Show that you are not a beta, right? Be a proud and loud Trump supporter, and your dating life will be fantastic.
This man and this cause will wreck America. It's Kamala Harris's job to stop it. It's her campaign's job to make sure she doesn't lose the election. They seem to understand that over July, August, and September. It would be best if they get back on track, let's say, by October 15th. For all of you out there, enraged and upset because you've been exposed to reality, let me just say that I'm going to double down. I want you to pay attention to what Harry Enton of CNN is talking about, because no political party has gotten elected to the office of President of the United States when the presidency is held by a member of that party with an approval level where Biden's is.
I think that this sort of gets at a problem for Kamala Harris's campaign. Just 28% of Americans think the U.S. is on the right track. And I want you to put that into perspective, right? When does the average, when the incumbent party loses the election, look at that. It's just 25%. That looks a heck of a lot like that 28%, right, that currently think the country is on the right track. When the White House party wins, i.e. Kamala Harris's party, the Democrats, 42% on average think that the country is on the right track. This 25% looks a lot more like this 28%. It doesn't look anything like this 42%. This, to me, is a bad sign for Kamala Harris's campaign. The bottom line is it looks a lot more like a loser than it does like a winner when it comes to the country being on the right track.
Can an incumbent party win with numbers like this?
Yeah, so if we look historically speaking, right, and we say, okay, say the U.S. is on the right track, the incumbent party, when they win. Today, again, it's just 28%. Look throughout history, right? 96, 88, 04, 12, 84. In all these instances, far more than 28% thought that the country was on the right track. 39 was the lowest back in 1996. We got upwards of 47% in 84. Of course, that was a blowout, right, for Ronald Reagan. So there is no historical precedent for the White House party winning another term in the White House when just 28% of the country thinks that we're on the right track. John, simply put, it would be historically unprecedented.
Donald Trump is the gravest threat to the United States of America since the Civil War. The way we get him back into the Oval Office is by drinking beers with Stephen Colbert on the edge of catastrophe and going on The View and being unable to answer a question about anything you might do differently. October is the month that decides elections, not July, not August, and not September. There are some quotes that have defined presidential campaigns in recent years. John Kerry's, I voted for it before I voted against it. Mitt Romney's quote about the 47% of the country that were freeloaders. John McCain saying, on the edge of financial collapse, the fundamentals of the economy were strong. I can't think of anything could be such a line. Let's hope that it doesn't turn out to be a line that cost the Harris team the campaign. But the magnitude of the mistake made on The View was enormous. It's the type of mistake that loses campaigns. And the way you avoid that mistake is stop making the candidate a target. She's not running for the Democratic nomination in the early primary states. This is October of a general election in a near even race. Keep the other guy the target. Make yourself a small one. Strategy 101. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.